Okay, so this is day 3 of Mishlei 1522, and we don't really have a procedure for day 3, but I think since it's been like a week, and since I guess I don't want to review all the guys' ideas, but we'll review the questions and the shot idea, I guess, and then we'll go into meforshim. I guess we have like luxury to do a lot of meforshim today. Yeah. All right. So hafer machashavos be'ein sod uvrov yotzim takum. So we translated this as plans are thwarted without secret counsel. And with abundant advisors, they will be established. And just to reiterate with the machshavos, I said plans is probably the best translation because it's the way I understand it is it's actionable thinking. And I think Ezra Koppel pointed out in last week's parsha. Let's see, what did he say? Machashavos, it's not there. Unless it's, oops. I feel like it says that a couple times, right? Lakshov machshavos in the context of, I thought it was in Perik, oh, there we go. Yeah, lakshov machshavos lasos b'zav v'kesav. It's like that's not a raya, just an example of that. And then I think there's another one is there another one by the Egel? Apparently not. Yeah, fine. Yeah, I think that's plain shot. Anyway, just wanted to mention that because it was recent. All right. So our questions were, what exactly is the decision-making scenario here, if there is one, unless this is just like a general thing? What type of machshavos is this referring to? What's the denotation and connotation of machshava? What does hafer mean? How and in what sense are the machshavos thwarted without a sod? What exactly does be'ein sod mean? Why is this expressed in the negative instead of in the positive, meaning in public or when publicized? Oh, I should also mention, right? So sod, we translated it as counsel, but we put brackets in secret because apparently it could mean either secret counsel or just gathering. Right. And then doesn't increasing the number of yotim run the risk of revealing the sod? So that's if you're going with a secret thing, then there's a tension there. How does rov yotim result in establishing the machshava in the first half? What are yotim? Why frame it in terms of the people, yotim instead of etza? Like it could say barov etza. What about bad advice, right? Just because you have a lot of advice doesn't mean it's going to automatically be good. In what sense are they established? Plain shot is takum is like to, you succeed in plan. But, what does that mean? What about the middleman? What if you have sod, you do have sod, but you don't have rov yotim? So where does that fall out? Who's the audience? Is this for a specific kind of advice seeker or planner? And then is this true and to what extent? Okay, so we had a lot of ideas, a lot more on the creative side than the shot side. So I think the most shots, well, I guess Ezra Koppel had the shot if you're going with secret. So he was saying that you need a secret counsel because if the group's too big, then someone is going to thwart the plan. And the solution is to have many individual counselors, each of whom knows part of the plan or is trustworthy, then you could keep the secret. So in other words, if you go too wide, then the secret will come out and that's bad. But if you go too secretive, then you won't get any advice at all. Okay, then Moshe Rosenthal, though, had the best shot for just the shot, which is there's 3 levels. So if you don't take any advice, then the plan will be thwarted. So that's be'ein sod without counsel at all. Right. If you take counsel to get a perspective outside of yourself to weed out obvious things that might thwart the plan, so then you'll increase your chances of success. And then if you get a lot of advice, then not only will that point out major flaws, but you'll also be able to refine the plan through having many minds. And obviously there's a point of diminishing returns. And then what we said is that the reason why, not just this pasuk with Mishlei in general, speaks in generalities. First of all, that's the style of Proverbs. But I think here, this is a good example of how psychologically, if you train yourself to think the thought of, if I don't ask for advice, my plans will fail. It will really just like all those times when you rationalize not asking people about something, you'll like inculcate the psychological drive to yourself, like, oh, well, I don't want my plans to fail, so I should ask someone. Right. Yeah. Okay, so anyone have any insights before we go into the meforshim from just new things that are coming up now? I did have brief thoughts about this with over the Megillah, but not concrete thoughts, just because that's a thing that we point out that Achashverosh is praised for asking for advice, and then Haman also asks for advice, but in a very weird way, right? Like he does consult with Chachamav Oavav, and Zeresh Ishto, but like it seems a little bit, even the way it's talked about, it seems like he's just looking for support, not really practical advice. Yeah. Oh, Isaac, you're unmuted. Are you trying to say something? Let me make sure my volume is up. Okay, yeah, I don't know if you're trying to say something, but hold on. Let me make sure everything's going well in terms of the audio here. Someone, hold on, just 1 second. Audio. Okay, chat. You were trying to talk. Okay. All right, so the question is, what's wrong? Speakers are going through my...
You can test with me too.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay, so it's on Isaac then. Thank you. Yeah, all right, Isaac, you'll have to work it out. Okay, all right, so let's start with meforshim here. Okay, let's go with Metzudas David first of all, and I'll use the Torah's time just for kicks here. Okay, so Metzudas David says, this is not going, machshavos Adam yufar v'yuvutal kishelo yoatz atzmo im yoatzim lahamtik sod. I've seen that expression before, right? Lahamtik sod. Yeah, I want to see if that's from psukim. Lahamtik means literally to make sweet, right? Lahamtik, unless there's some meaning that I don't know about it. Let's see, lahamtik sod. No, not from a pasuk, unless it is. Let me just see lahamtik. I feel like that word is not a word that's we're gonna see in psukim. No, okay, fine. All right, so yeah, I don't know what that expression means. So we go here. All right, so he says, man's plans will be thwarted and nullified if he did not, or when he does not. Yoatz atzmo im yoatzim. Okay, whatever. Consult with advisor. I know he has to say atzmo. Lahamtik sod, but that's the thing. To sweeten the counsel. Is he saying so? Did he say Metzudas says sod is etza? Yes, so he's not going with he says inyan etza on the Metzudas shedarcho lios besod laval yevada osha etza hu lamase ki yesod labinyan. Right, that was the weird interpretation. So it sounds like he's going with etza, and he's just saying the normal etza is in secret to not be known. Okay, fine. But I don't think he's saying davka secret counsel. Right.
You're saying that's why you use this word.
Exactly, yeah. But then he says it's like the yesod to a binyan, which this is the first time we've ever seen the Metzudas give an or. He doesn't usually give an or possibility. Okay, fine. And it's also just weird because yesod of the binyan does not seem like a shot of sod, Okay, fine. So I don't know if that plays into this. Go back to the Metzudas David. About al yidei harbe yotim takum hamachshava. Yes, what is he talking about here? Lahamtik. So I just want to check out the Klein dictionary, which sometimes has idioms in rabbinic Hebrew. So let's see if this is going to help us. Lehamtik. No, it doesn't. So matok. Let's look up matak. Okay, sweet. Sweetness. Matek is to cut out or to switch from hitik. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, he smacked his lips with pleasure. Yeah, I'll just look at one more place, although I doubt this is going to have it because lahamtik is a Hebrew word, but I'm just going to look at Jastro. Sometimes there might be an idiom in Aramaic here. So matek, oops, sorry. Metek. Metek is sweet, palatable, to partake with delight, to smack or gnaw. Yeah, not seeing it here. Yeah, no clue what he means. So what do we get here?
We're not already finishing.
No.
Like it's
No, it's not. But see, here's the thing: is if it weren't for the fact that he's talking so weird and doing weird things with the words, I would think that he's not trying to get at a chiddush. But the combination of the dual interpretation of sod and the yot atzmo im yotim, that one's not so weird. But then lahamtik sod, yeah. Hard to know what's speculative here. Very strange. Okay, let's actually consult. Does Rashi? Sometimes he's explaining Rashi. Does Rashi say anything? Hafir machshavos be'ein sod below etza lo takum machshava. Okay, so that's definitely pshat, right? Without advice, the machshava will not be established. Footnote 33 is kishe'ein sod. Okay, fine. And then 34 is hisyatsus, taking counsel kmo besodam al tavo nafshi. Bihis kansam levakesh etza. So not secret. Ain Rashi Sham. All right, fine. All right, so I guess we'll set this aside and see if we get anyone else. Okay, let's look at Rבינו Yona. Hafir machshavos be'ein sod of roviotim takum. Hafaras machshavos yera v'yikra be'ein sod. So the thwarting of plans will occur and happen without sod. Ki kasher yigale ha'adam soda. When a person reveals his secret, yagid hashomei le'echav u'lemire'ehu. Then the listener will tell his brothers and his friends. Ubein ish navon yivada l'ravim. 40. Ulai tzarich lomar ubein. That probably makes more sense. I don't know why navon though. That's weird, right? Ubein ish navon yivada l'rabim. Without a discerning man, then it will become known to the public. And then one of the people is going to strategize to negate that plan, to abolish that plan, to not bring it to fruition. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So this is teaching you the cause of the thwarting of the plan from the first half, and the cause of its being established. So this is kind of like what Moshe Rosenthal was saying, is that if you conceal the secret and don't have yotzim, then even though it won't cause the thwarting of the plan, you also won't reach it won't come to fruition. So when you have a lot of yotim, then it will. Sod ve'etza shnei inyanim him. So sod and etza are two different things. Ki sod haster davar, ve'etza chakiras hadeos al davar. Okay, fine. Yes, I mean this does sound like what Moshe Rosenthal was saying, but I think this really is subject to the question of the tension, right? If he's saying sod is concealing, and it's going to get out, so then, what are you supposed to do? On the one hand, you need to ask people. On the other hand, the more people you tell, the more people are going to reveal it. Yeah.
So I thought that's why he's saying that specifically in Navon will make sure that the people who know are not the people who are just gonna let it go out. Especially you got Adam Sodo. Like he's gonna give it, like he's gonna tell it to someone else, but with the each Navon, he's gonna like
well, I guess it depends on how we read it. So if you read Uvein Ish Navon, and among a man of understanding, Yivadal Rabim, that makes it sound bad that he's going to reveal it.
Yeah.
And then Be'ein Navon, so then maybe you could read that way, right? Is that it's just so weird. It says that. Is there any evidence from the prior pasukim that we're talking anything about a Navon here? 15. Let's look at 15. What were our previous ones? This is 22, right? Yivelasim palachas lev the ish tuvona yashar lachas, right? Yeah, so that's probably where he's getting the ish navon from. Right. I feel he's just not spelling this out exactly here. What does this footnote 42 say? Kach b'ksav yad. I think this is Paris. V'ulai tzarich lamar l'sibas. What is going on? This is going off of Hakamasa. Okay. Uvksav yad something. Hine hodasa davar hi sibal hafarasa. So the publicizing of the thing is a cause for its thwarting. But otso davar atmo hu sibal hakamasa. But that very same thing is the cause for its being established. So there's the tension. He's baroviotim. V'drashos parshas metzora. Hosif levai. Okay, do you know about the drashos of Rבינו Yona? Rabbi Aronson liked those. I've never seen another copy other than the one in Rabbi Aronson's library, but apparently there are drushos of Rבינו Yona on Parshios of the Torah. I in my mind, it's like not certain whether this is from him or not. But since I don't have a physical copy and I've never seen it digitally, I don't know like if this is legit or not. But I guess if the footnote's quoting it, the Torah Chaim people, at least do their research. So he adds and explains shlo legalo sodo, not to reveal his secret. Ki efshar sheyafsid kol inyanav aydei giluso. It's possible to ruin everything through revealing of the secret. The sofa pasuk of rov yotim takum klomar hamachshava. V'shema tomar im kain lo esyayit im shum adam b'machshavosai kadesh lo egalei sodi. Right, so that's the opposite extreme. Is maybe I shouldn't take counsel with anyone so as to not expose my sod. Okay, it's not true. Ki afal pi shelo tachush az shiyavu ha'achirin l'saper machshavosecha kasher lo tgalin, because even though you won't have to worry, or you won't worry that others will come to tell your plans, kasher lo tgalin, gam lo yiskaimu im lo tachkor, then they also will not be established if you don't investigate. Or inquire. Uvehen hadeos rabim v'nichbadim lehisyat imam. Uvehiosam chashuvim v'nichbadim lo yigalu sodam. Okay, fine. So the key here is if they are the deos of rabim v'nichbadim. I think rabim here does not mean many, but prominent and like great and prominent people to take counsel with. Uvehiosam chashuvim v'nichbadim, since they are prominent people, lo yigalu hasod, they will not reveal the secret. Shekvar nemar. Ne'eman ruach machasedavar. Someone who's a trustworthy spirit will conceal the matter. Amar simcha leish b'manei piv. That's the next pasuk. Regarding this, it says in the next pasuk, there's a joy to a man in the response of his mouth. Klomar al yomar hanoatz mali uletzarazeh. The person who is noatz is consulted should not say, why should I care about this burden, this pain? Ki simcha leish hayoetz bevo ma'aneh piv. There is a joy. Okay, he's already giving shot for the next possibility. We've gone too far. There is a joy to a man, to the advisor, when I think this means when his advice comes to fruition. V'davar ha'etza sheyavo be'ito ma tov lenoatim. Yeah. So he's saying that you're going to get the reward of giving good advice and it coming true. Okay, so I don't care about that next part really here. So he is adding one important thing, which supports the way you want to read it, Ezra, is that you have to choose the right advisors. I guess maybe he's reading Yoetz. This is answering the question about what about bad advice. Maybe Yoetzim means people who are like, platonic like advisors, meaning like they embody a real advisor, someone who's going to be sensitive to not only like the plan itself and give good advice, but on like the circumstances in which you're asking for advice, and he won't divulge it, unwillingly. Isaac.
Yeah. So
it was very, very Twilight Zone vibes. Yeah.
There's like going to be it's people who are defined as yoatzim, not just it's not just.
You happen to ask advice from, right. And is he say? I don't know if you can even read it this way. Is he reading rov as great? Like I thought rov has to mean a multitude. I know rav can mean multitude or great, but rov yotim sounds like the implication he's getting from the second half is definitely great advisors, but good, and even the way he paraphrased, "Bahen hadeos rabim v'nichbadim,"
or even the way he says in the actual parish, "Eitza," like the tunyanim,
yeah,
as the soda, then the "Eitza chakiras hadeos,"
right?
Imply many,
yeah, right. What is the Hebrew? Oh, see, that's interesting. Also, okay, so here I would pull an altar, okay, which is that, it is in. I mean, it's spelled chaser, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. I would be willing to read it as that, unless you can say rov means so interesting. It does say abundant greatness. All right. So once we have the BDB chiming in and saying that this can mean greatness, like in all these examples here.
Rov also.
Rov. Yeah, but that
is that literally multitude?
I thought it meant I think because that's the yidzagu is like fish, right?
I thought that was going on the multitude.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. But here's going rov chastecha. Rov chastecha does not mean necessarily in your abundant kindnesses, but it means in your great kindness. Rov koach. Read rov also probably for rav. Yeah, fine. All right, so I'm comfortable with this. Okay, so the question is there any chiddush for Rבינו Yona here beyond beyond what Moshe Rosenthal said. Yeah, I think.
It's not just about getting advice. You need to get the right advice.
Right. But the question is, I guess, I feel like the very framing of the pasuk is equal parts, like the idea here is equal parts get good advice and watch out for people who are going to reveal your secrets, right? So can we unify those two ideas?
I think that when you're, when you're going for advice,
Yeah.
it's not just get advice. It's how am I got advice?
Yeah, right.
And this didn't help them because they didn't give good advice.
Yeah.
But also like it's you need to be careful with who you're asking advice from. There's the risk of are they gonna keep your secret, and then also are they gonna actually help you with
Right.
advice?
Yeah.
That's a good example because
Yeah. The Haman.
we know,
Yeah.
come on, because we know that they didn't keep the secret because Carbona that day was like, oh, he just built us.
Yeah, right. You know what's funny though? I never thought about this before, but someone asked me on Purim, how did Carbona know about this? 50 cubits is really tall, right? So you can see it from outside, So I don't know if I feel like that's probably how Carbona knew,
And that was a bad secret.
That's possible also, right? Yeah, I mean, Chachamav and Ohavav is probably a lot. It sounds like a lot of people from the way it was described. It's not like one or two friends, Yeah.
But I think they're like I think a person could might have a tendency to only think that if they're considering who they're asking advice from, they might only consider one of these things.
Right.
Like, can this person keep a secret?
Right.
Because like that's like a framework that people will be operating in, but then they'll ask advice from someone who is going to tell them exactly what they want here, but they'll be able to keep a secret.
Right.
Or a person might say, look, I want advice to be able to make this plan better, and then they just think about who's a good person to talk to about that.
Right.
They don't think about whether they can trust them to hold it in.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm trying to bust out and failing the rhetorical triangle from AP English, because this really does illustrate. Let me just go to Lamdeha, to college composition. Oops, sorry, not college composition, to college composition, to rhetorical toolbox, to rhetorical. Did I not have this as a separate thing? I may not have had this as a separate thing. Just give me 1 second here. Fall semester rhetoric. Is it going to be here? Yeah, right. So in right. So you've got, text in fancy AP rhetoric just means any, like, it doesn't mean like written text or whatever, and then the rhetor is the speaker or the writer. So basically these are the three, there's an interplay between these three factors in communication that you have to consider the thing you're talking about, in this case, the machshava, the person you're talking to, in this case, the yoet, and then the person who's speaking. And the mistake that I was talking about is basically you are blind to one of these things, or you underrate one of these things. So for example, you may be, let's say, taking counsel from a person who's capable of giving good advice, but you're not paying sufficient heed to the sensitive nature of the material, this is not the only, maybe this is not the best AP diagram to use, but
that would be the subject, not the audience.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, correct, right. Yeah, the audience is what I meant to say, right? Or you might be considering the audience in one capacity, but not in the other, in the capacity of their knowledge, but not in the capacity of their character, or not in the capacity of their circumstances. So let's say, for example, let's say like you have a friend who is very trustworthy, and you ask them for advice, but they have a very gossipy wife who is always listening in and who's going to share it, like that can happen also. It's like not necessarily the person, or the walls have ears, and so it's not being said in a way that is, so you have to take into account all the things. Yeah.
I think for Rביnu Yona also, the fact that they're not like mutually exclusive. It's not like two things you have to like think about, like does a person fall into both? But by being secretive about it and like talking to someone one-on-one, getting their advice.
Yeah.
But like if you ask like a group of like 50 people what their advice is, one or two people might have an idea, and then like a bunch of people will say, here,
Yeah.
There's not gonna be like nuanced advice from everybody. And like you might want someone's take, but they wouldn't say it in a large crowd.
Right.
Like going like one-on-one with them.
Right. That fits in well with your interpretation also. Right. Yeah. Right. Just with Rubinio's criteria here.
Right.
Yeah. All right, that's good. So the chiddush then is to focus on the tension between the secretive nature of plans, but the qualifications of the person advising you, and hit that balance of getting advice from good people, but in a way that won't expose the secret. I think that's the thing. Yeah. So it is different than Moshe Rosenthal's answer, because Moshe Rosenthal was not taking anything about secretiveness and not even in terms of the greatness of the person. Moshe was taking as sod, advice, and rov is multitude. So this is sufficiently different. Yeah. All right, good. So let me just make a note of this here. So this is Rביnu Yona is there's a tension between the secretive nature of plans and the need for good advice. Seek good advice from people who will not let the secret out, and make sure you're
asking people who will actually give you good advice.
I was gonna say, yeah, thinking about both qualities when seeking advisors, right? Both qualities meaning their trustworthiness in keeping secrets, and their qualifications in the area of advice. In that area of advice. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's good. All right, let's do the Meiri, and then I want to do Rביnu Sheshes, and then we'll see if we have time after that.
Big Meiri.
Is there big Meiri? Is it on multiple psukim? Yeah. Okay. Hold on a second. Where's missing where it starts? Oh yeah. All right. So let's read what he says about our pasuk first. Sod yamar lefamim al halamas davar v'hastar. We read this already. V'histarto sod Hashem lirev ki im gala sodo v'sod acher al tagel upam yamar al kibutz anashim lisiatz eita binehem hinlechim l'ra al amacha yarimu sod v'sod yisharim be'edav al sod b'churim yachtav hinehu amor b'inyan eita. So he's saying here it's said about Eitza. V'hu he'ara al asiyas ha'inanim v'mitun uve'eita uve'atas gedolav u'zakenav. So it's talking about going about your affairs and doing things with deliberation and with counsel from people who are great and elders. The Chacham says to his son, you should take counsel and tarry in your actions, meaning take your time. That's a Kohel's reference. Don't be rushed in your spirit to express your plan in action. Kitov shetinachem al hismahamasacha mishetinachem al havhilacha. That's probably it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, right? Better to be comforted or to regret your delay than to regret your rushingness. Okay, in other words, like sometimes if you have to choose, sometimes you might regret not acting quickly, but you'll be acting in a good plan, but acting hastily is going to lead to more failure more often, this was something you can't take back, right? So this was, I re-listened to one of my favorite Purim shiurim from Rebbe from 2005, the debate between Mordechai and Esther. And he mentions that, when Mordechai goes to ask, to tell Esther to go in front of the king, then she is operating in a Mishlei framework, which is, we have 11 months. You're telling me to risk my life right now, let's think about this and strategically plan. And in the shiur, Rebbe explains why like that was a perfectly rational thing to do in general. But in a case like this, and I'm not going to spoil the shiur, but in a case like this, you have to act immediately. But she was in the right. Like if she imagine she bursts into the king and then gets killed, then you've lost your one chance, you know? So right.
I'll make overview shiur about that shiur.
Oh, okay, nice. This year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. It worked out then. V'al ze amar hafer machshavos bein sod, klamar kol ma sheyachshov ha'adam lahasigo hu mufar ba'avur ha'asoso below etza. So anything that a person plans to do will be nullified if he does it without advice. Uvrov yotim takum ratlomer tiskaim machshava. All right, fine. Uvrov pirusho b'harbe o b'chashivos etza. There you go. Now we got an endorsement, right? Chashivos etza, or a lot. Okay, then he goes to the next shot. All right, so far is this is more just like Rubinu Yona, right? It's just he's adding the point about the rushing. He's spelling out what the Havamina is, or what the foolish thing is sometimes you don't take counsel because you're so eager to implement your plan, right? So that's a good like pitfall to take, right? Is like so I think the counter strategy is whenever you are so excited to implement a plan that you think to yourself, I shouldn't get advice, you should think, I'm so excited to fail quickly, and that'll give you pause and then help you to double check. I'm just going to add this here. So this is Meiri, same idea, but with an emphasis on the foolish decision of being so eager for your plan to come to fruition that you don't take counsel. So if you're seized by an immediate desire to implement your plan, the psychological counter tactic is to say, I want to fail quickly, right? And that should prompt you to slow down and take advice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Isaac?
I have kind of an example of this.
Yeah.
It didn't actually result in failure.
That's good.
So I've been coaching my coworker at work because
Yeah.
he's been doing so well.
Yeah.
And he's made a lot of progress, but yesterday he had a conversation with our manager.
Yeah.
And it came out that part of what was going on was that he was concerned that it seemed like he wasn't learning things quickly enough, and so instead of asking questions when he didn't understand something, he was trying to kind of put on a show of knowledge, which is exactly the thing that my manager was really unhappy.
Yeah.
So I was later talking with Aviva about this because she's one of my eighth people.
Yeah.
And before he even said that, she was like, "Oh, it sounds like that's exactly what was happening." And if I would have talked to her about it, then she would have had that insight, and then I could have helped my coworker with that earlier.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing also is I do think another strategy is you should ask yourself, and I'm not saying that this is a rhetorical question, you should ask yourself, what do I have to lose by checking in with someone for advice? So there are cases, as we just saw from Yona, where what you have to lose is the plan could get out. But if you take Yona's advice and you're secretive about it, what are you going to lose? Either in this case, in other words, they'll give you a better idea, they'll confirm your idea, or you'll realize you made a mistake. So or
they'll give you advice that you say, okay, actually this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly right. It's redundant. We're not redundant. It doesn't accomplish anything.
I think there just a thought, a more general thought about advice.
Yeah.
I think all these things about are assuming that you're going to be able to analyze the advice well and come to the conclusion about whether it's good advice or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just noting that. I don't think that's the topic of this.
Yeah.
But, if you get advice and you're just gonna, I think we talked about it. If you're just gonna listen to whatever your advisor tells you, what you were thinking.
Yeah.
Then it's no better than just then you're not getting the benefit of the advice either.
Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. I think that that there are cases where you're asking people who have a vastly superior knowledge of the area than you, and it might actually be better for you to just follow what they say than to like try to work it out on your own, meaning the very act. Let's say we certainly recognize this in areas that require expert knowledge, like medical stuff, but even in personal decisions, there are times, I think, when someone who's a veteran of that area and has more life experience and maturity and knowledge will say, like, trust me, like, the way you're thinking about it right now seems to make sense and you're compelled, but like, I've advised hundreds of cases about this and like, it's a bad idea, so I do think that could be a thing also.
Point. And I think also, even if you're going to just blindly accept or reject what they're saying, the fact that if there's a disconnect between what they're suggesting and what you were thinking, I think that's going to give you some pause and make you think about it. Think about it.
Right. Okay, let's do Rבינו Sheshis, who you don't have in your packet, obviously. Okay, so I can't do this today. Let's see. Hafir Machshavos Bein Sod. Okay, Yomer, or I think Yomar. Ki sibas stiras hamachshava ubitula kaasher tisbatel velo tavo lifol shalem. So the cause of here he's using a thwarting of plans and their nullification when they are nullified and don't come to complete fruition. Long way of saying a short thing. Is because that machshava did not come into the council of advice. And he's not debating with others, discussing with others. The only one who's discussing is the one who the plan occurred to in his mind. And he didn't consult anyone to get additional understanding. Yesod b'makom kamo tastireni misod re'im shehu asifa v'kibbutz v'chein v'roznim nosadu yachad. So it's a council here, not secret. U'v'rov yotim takum ki achar shehu yivakish ha'etza v'yitur achar ba'alei hada'as v'yisu v'yitnu b'davar al zeh. So once he seeks advice and looks, explores for people who possess knowledge, and he could discuss the matter with them. So then he'll get the right counsel without a doubt. Sometimes even a navon and a chacham and a bal etza, something could be concealed from him. So we talked about this briefly last time, but like I think that's another pitfall that you can have, which is I'm an expert and I do know this, right? But you can just have like a brain fart or like just overlooking a fact or whatever, and so even if you are qualified, you should consult someone else.
Another example of this as well. So same situation with my manager and this guy. The way that that they have different communication styles. In a way that where when my coworker says something, my manager will think he understood what my coworker is saying. But in a way where it's bad, Like I'll understand it differently and in a way that looks much worse for my coworker. And so then sometimes my manager will have a conversation with me about this like thing that shows like total like ignorance about what he's working on. I'm like, I think actually what he's trying to say is this other thing,
right?
And then he'll
that's a good point. Is that sometimes the role of the advisor is to just reformulate what's already being said because it's not being heard. That's a good point. Okay, we didn't do the Meiri's derech nistar. Let's do that, even though it might go into the next one. So it's on the line, the wide whatever above 85. With derech nistar, yiforsh sod al inyan rishon. So derech nistar, obviously, sod is going to be a secret or an esoteric idea. V'hisir hacham shelo yaharos b'mechuvan b'sibas galos sodos haTorah lemish eno roy lakach. All right, this is an important one, right? So it's warning the chacham not to break forth or breach boundaries about the footnote says machshavos. the sibas galos sodos haTorah l'mish eno roy lakach, and by revealing secrets of the Torah to someone who's not worthy or ready. Kizeh harisa v'hafir hamachshava. That is going to lead to a breaking through and a thwarting of the intended plan. In other words, let's go. We'll read the rest of it. Ach b'chashivus hayotin. You need to have good counsel. Ratzlomer b'chashivus hachachamim v'hamadasam inyane haTorah al moshav kinam. So you have to take counsel with great chachamim who will preserve the ideas of the Torah on their proper basis and fulfill the plan. Actually, hold on. I do want to read this next part in case it's relevant. The Meiri, he's also pointing out sheish sodos she'ein roy legalosam l'shum adam ba'olam. Wow. Okay. So there are other secrets that it's not proper to reveal them to anyone in the world, even to the most navon of navonim. But rather the chacham, based on what he's attained in the success of his learning, should contemplate them with his own mind and not until he understands them. Again, that's transition to the next thing. Yeah. So this I can say is also a problem that I've run into many times is sometimes you do know a sod and you know that it's true and a compelling idea, but it is, and you're really, really tempted to tell someone because they do objectively need the idea, but they're not ready to integrate it and to process it yet, and you have to forego it, right? So how does that read into the pasuk here? So in the pasuk, the machshavos, I would say machshavos habore. I know that's not what he's saying. He's saying that like just the machshav itself, but I'm saying God's thoughts, meaning like the esoteric ideas in Torah, in metaphysics and science and reality, philosophy, whatever, will be thwarted be'ein sod, meaning the ideas, even if you convey it with perfect verbal precision, it's not going to reach its kiyum. In the person, it's not gonna have the right effect, either because of a psychological distortion or because of intellectual misunderstanding. Uverov yotim takum, and with a high quality of advisors who know Torah and know its ideas, you'll be able to firmly establish the machshava in the proper place by knowing when and how and where to tell it. Yeah.
I think this is part of the tragedy of writing down Torah.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, right. Lots of ideas, I'm sure, were written down accurately, but not. I was thinking about this a lot lately. You have 4 levels in revealing Kabbalistic secrets. Okay, so you have, and I don't remember their names, but there were 2 Rishonim who were prominent in the time of the Ramban, whose school of thought was divulge the secrets and write them all down. Okay, so that's the most open. Okay, then you have the Ramban's derech, which is to write them in code. Okay, is to say a few words to say that there's a secret here, and then to put the disclaimer in the beginning of your Pirush on the Torah that no one follows, don't try to understand this unless you're a Kabbalist, and then you'll have lots of secrets. Okay, then you have the Rashba, who was in the line of the Ramban, the Talmidim line, who, from what I've seen, his policy is he will just say there is a sod here, and he won't give any even encoded versions of the sod. Okay, and then, I don't know if this is a shock to people, then there are the people who, the only way we know that they were Kabbalists is from their biographies, but they don't allude at all in their writing to sodos. Most prominently, Rבינו Yona. Okay, Rבינו Yona was part of the Kabbalistic circle in Gerona, who studied wherever the Kabbalah was there. To my knowledge, never once does he breathe a word that he knows these Kabbalistic things. So it's just interesting. I'm guessing that the guys, I think Rav Azriel is one of the ones who, I don't know who he is, who wrote all the stuff openly. I'm sure that led to misunderstanding. We see what happened to the Ramban. That there, again, I love Halbertal's book on Nachmanides, but what he does is he expounds on the Ramban and tries to explain stuff. And who knows if he actually got it right, you know? And I mean, even people in our yeshiva give great ideas expounding on the Ramban. I think the way I interpret them in a Don L'Kav way is, there's this machlokas between the Ramban and the Rambam on Maaseh Merkav and Maaseh Bereishis. The Ramban holds that that he had the Kabbalah and that the only way to understand the ideas is through the Kabbalah. Rambam holds that the Kabbalah was lost, but you can reconstruct it through philosophy, through like your own Yun. And the Ram, does that with Maaseh Merkava in the More Nevuchim, and he admits that he might not have it right, So my Dal Kavskos is that the people who are interpreting the Ramban Sodos hold by the Rambam in terms of the nature of the ideas, and are relying on the fact that the Ramban actually had a Kabbalah, but that you think you could get at it through like your own Yun, What?
Can you do that?
I mean, it depends on what your shita is about the nature of Maaseh Merkava and Maaseh Bereishis,
I'm saying in general though, like if your opinion is one thing, my opinion is the other thing, can you go like your opinion in terms of like getting to the core of an idea, which disagrees with mine for like what I'm saying. Like if I'm writing in a way such that like I don't want it to be analyzed and like I don't want.
Well, I'll give you an example, and this is a total hypothetical, which is that it does seem pretty clear from their writings that the Rambam was more advanced in science than the Ramban was. The Ramban was going off of things that were that in the Rambam's day he saw that it was not scientific, but a lot of other people thought that it was scientific. So let's say there's an idea in Maaseh Bereishis that the Ramban thinks that there's no way that you can know this except through the Masorah, right? Whereas the Rambam says, no, like we can study the world, and also the Ramban was very against Aristotle, right? Rambam can say like, yeah, I see if you were right that the only way to get this is through Nevuah and through the Masorah, then yeah, speculating about it would be futile. But I know that you can get this idea of Maaseh Bereishis through studying the Bereishis. And if you have the correct idea and I can arrive at it through my own inquiry, then I can arrive at it, And I'm not saying it's always going to be like that, but that, it also might be a machlokas in teaching, right? Is that the Ramban thinks that it's too risky to try to teach these ideas because of the misunderstanding, whatever, whereas others hold that you can teach them, and therefore we can like learn from people who taught them in code. Yeah. Okay. Oh, we're over time. I didn't realize it. All right. So we didn't get to do them all, but yeah. All right. So I look, the nature of Mishlei is such that like anytime you review it, you get more stuff. So I feel like even though last time was a quantum leap in refining the pasuk according to our own understandings, I feel like we fleshed out practical applications here that ground the idea more. So I'm satisfied that we spent another day on this. Oh yes, thank you. Is the derecho nistar is you may be tempted to share the sodos that but you have to realize that even if you know them 100% and communicate them with 100% clarity, they might not come to fruition because of intellectual or psychological deficiencies in the recipient, and you should consult other chachamim for advice on whether or how to share them. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So tomorrow we're doing Q&A. Is that what we said? Okay. All right. Works for me.